Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guests, well, first of all, you should recognize our guests if you're a longtime listener. We have Lindie back on the podcast. It's been, about 10, 11 months since we last had her on. So, yeah, it's right on track with it. And, yeah, she's just coming back on to give us an update on what she's been up to. And, yeah, just talk all things that we really want to talk about. But most importantly, she's our current guest again. Lindie, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. It's fun.
Well, I ask this question to every single guest, even though it makes me upset, especially during the wintertime. What is the weather like today?
Today it is absolutely beautiful here. Um, Northern Ohio, and it's almost 60 degrees, and you just can't beat that. Like everything's soggy, but the sun is shining. It's warm. You can go out in a t-shirt if you want to. Like it's great.
Wait, you're in
So
Ohio and it's almost 60 degrees?
yeah. So, but over Christmas it was like negative 27. So you win some, you lose some. I think.
We're still in the teens here, so yeah, it's still a real fun time. So yeah, I'm loving the fact that I got to get in my car in about an hour and a half and go drive to work. That'll be a lot of fun for me. But yeah, so there's that. So hey, we got the depressing stuff out of the way, but yeah, it's been almost a year. And what have you been up to? What's your your health journey been like? What's that all been all?
Um, I think about the same
Yeah.
since I've been here. Or since I was last on. Uh, it's really just about staying disciplined, and I'm continuing my workouts. I've had a lot of events happen for me, and, those have been really fun. So I am really working harder at my like nutrition level. Okay,
Cat alert, everyone! Too now. What's the cat's name? Too. We already saw the dog from before.
okay. The cat's name is Lucy,
Okay.
and the dog's name is Polly, and this is gonna be fun because
Oh my god, are you kidding me? I'm making a compilation of just all the times that the animals have been on the podcast too, and it's already like 40 minutes long. So yeah, your animals
no,
will be immortalized forever on the animal compilation. So yeah.
well, the dog loves the cat, and the cat is like, I don't want anything to do with you.
That's
So
that's every cat that I think's ever lived in this entire history of the world, basically.
be
No
quiet.
worries, no worries at all. So yeah, so it's been about the same. So I gotta ask, how do you deal with the holidays too when it comes to food? Because I am still probably gonna be a couple of weeks before I finally, am able to lose a little bit of that extra holiday weight that I put on.
Yeah. Um, I know, and the holidays is always very, very difficult because you are surrounded by so many goodies and food and whatever. For me personally, I don't go all out. I just try to maintain the best I can on my normal nutrition. And if I indulge, I indulge, but I maintain my workouts to help combat those things. So I don't skip my workouts. I make sure that those are getting in for sure. So if I do eat, one too many cookies or whatever I'm having, that, you know, that's going to be okay.
Hey, doing a workout after you have some of my uncle's beef jerky, where it's like I accidentally had like 25 pieces of it, which again I do not recommend everyone. That's a hard day for you, but hey, I was able to get through it. But the problem is, like, I don't know if you've seen these before, but like there are these cookies that companies give out apparently around during the holidays, where like they're chocolate on the top and then they're like the cookie part on the bottom, and they have them like mixed up, and they're like probably like that big. So my mom's company gave out like they had like so many leftover boxes of them, and each box has like 20 of them, and she brought home like a dozen of them. And me and my two brothers were both home for the holidays, so we have just been going to town on that. And I don't have any regrets about that, but hey, I might need to slowly have to trim down on that a little bit, especially since we got New Year's coming up. But yeah, so I always agree with you too, where it's like it's nice to enjoy having food and doing all that, but if you stick to your routine, if you've been doing this for as long as a lot of people have been doing this, I mean, you're it's not gonna really impact you that much. It's just gonna, if anything, give you more energy. But so yeah, and I mean, with your
Well,
train,
I definitely think like when you are like eating through the holidays and stuff like that, and if you do overindulge, just to take those steps to drink a lot of water, and especially if you have been working so hard, before the holidays, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be really, really good, eventually I feel like if I overindulge, I'm not going to feel very good, right? And that makes it easier because when you don't feel good, you're like, I don't want to do that again. So then you start to learn how to like scale back and take things in moderation for yourself as opposed to just being like, yeah, it's the holidays, I'm off, I'm just gonna eat whatever the heck I want. I think that's a common thing for people.
I've literally told my uncles, like, can you just undercook one batch where I get like food poisoning just once? So then I hate it so much. So then like I never want to have it again. Cause like it's
Yeah.
becoming a problem. Cause like it's so good where I was like, yeah, just undercook one batch for me. Don't tell me that you're gonna do it. Just let me get food. I'll take the food poisoning for a couple of days and then I'll never want to have it again. Cause that would solve so many of my problems.
Yeah, well, the beef jerky, that's probably like really high in salt
Oh
too.
my God. Yeah. So my little brother, he moved to California and he came back. And when I picked him up from the airport, I brought the beef jerky with him because it's his favorite thing. He had about two of them, and he goes, "Yeah, that's enough sodium for me for a day." And I was like, "Oh my God, he's turned West Coast, everyone." So, so yeah, that was funny. But yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like yeah, it's your heart skips a few beats, the next day. But hey, like I said, it's only about once a year. He makes them for birthdays and for Christmas, so it's worth it, because my birthday's in July too, so I space it out to about half the year. So I got a 6-7 month break, in between times that I get it, so it's nice to
Oh,
indulge those few times.
you're lucky.
Yeah.
Like my birthday is right around the holidays, so it's like boom and boom.
My
So,
uncle's birthday's on Christmas Eve, so we always got to bring him birthday cake for when we get the family together.
oh my gosh, so that's a lot.
I
A lot.
mean, poor guy, because yeah, to have your birthday on a holiday, that would absolutely. Now, if you had a birthday on like Halloween or Valentine's Day, it's not too bad, but it's like it's Christmas Eve, so it's yeah, or even Christmas Day too would probably be even worse. But like, yeah, that's yeah. We always said that. Oh, that's why he is the way he is. That's the excuse that we always make because his birthday was on Christmas Eve. So, yeah, there's that. But what did you do? How did you celebrate the holidays this year?
Like Christmas?
Yeah.
I was working.
What?
Yeah, I help on a farm.
Oh, okay.
That's my job, and it was cold, and we really needed the extra manpower, so I was there, and I luckily I had Christmas Day off or like the morning, so I just me and the kids, and then we went to my mom's, and of course enjoyed food and presents and family company, and it was fun. It's always fun. I had a great Christmas this year,
I mean,
which
I
I normally do, but
I
you
mean,
know.
I was just getting over COVID because I got COVID on the 13th, and then I tested negative for the second time in 2 days on the 24th, actually. So then I was able to celebrate with family and friends, and it was. I mean, I can't imagine. I could probably pull myself together and work on Christmas Day, but like we had drove to Walgreens to get board games on Christmas morning because that's the only place that's open. And I felt bad for the people working there, so yeah, that's. I mean, but hey, so working on a farm, how does that help with your fitness? Because like that's a very physical job as well.
Oh yeah, I think that's part of my physique.
Yeah.
Um, it depends on what job you're particularly doing, but sometimes it's a lot of walking, and then other times, like lately, I've been doing a lot of lifting. So I'm
Please
carrying.
don't please don't tell me you're the one like doing the hay barrels and stuff like that.
No, no, we don't do the hay bales, but I'm carrying buckets of milk and lifting them and carrying them and lifting them again, and I'm doing a lot of that almost on a daily basis, and I can feel it through my shoulders and my midsection because I'm like turning at the same time, and I was like, wow, I'm like this is really a lot, and then just the other morning, in fact, a lot of like buckets of water were frozen. And they were to water the animals. So what we had to do was lift them up and throw them down and lift them up and throw them down in order to get the ice loose enough to dump them out
That's a
so we
CrossFit
know.
workout right there.
I know. I was like, huh. Now I want one of those like a slam ball,
Yeah.
like a 40-pound slam
We
ball
have one
just
of
to
those.
pick
It's,
it up
it's
and throw
actually
it down.
kind of fun. Yeah, when you get into it, yeah, it's actually yeah. So I
Like
mean,
I was seriously, it was like 20 degrees. I was sweating and it was like I was like, wow. I was like out of breath. Like, I mean,
That
it was good. It was a good thing.
that's the only problem when you get that worked up though, when it's that cold, then like then it can freeze up on you and stuff. So that's what I always hated doing, like really, especially like shoveling snow up here. Like if we got that really heavy snow where you're just drenched in sweat and it's like 10 degrees and you're like, okay, I don't want to get like sick because then it's gonna freeze up on me. Like your sweat's gonna freeze up on you. But yeah, I mean, so many people don't know the difference really between functional strength and just the strength that you get in the gym. Which it's nice that you have a job where you can have the functional strength as well. Where like I work in a warehouse too, so a lot of it is pulling and pushing stuff too. So it's nice to have that background as well too. But do you get your workouts in, or do you try to get your workouts in before you go to work, or do you do them after work? Because for me, even after my warehouse job, like I have to do everything before, because if I try to
Mhm.
get a workout in afterwards, I'm already so dead tired that it's like I'm gonna have to go half speed basically.
Yeah. For a while there, I was trying to get them in before, but I start so early. I was like, it was a matter of losing sleep, which is really important. Um, just to get up and work out in order to go, you know, to the farm and do more work. Do I like getting it in before working, going to work? Yeah, I do, because then I don't have to worry about it when I come home. But again, it was pushing my sleep schedule, and I have to value my sleep. That has to be a priority for me. Um, so I would just go to work, and then like I'll just do it when I come home, and it works out
Well, plus
for me right now.
I usually have the luck where like I'll get in my hardest leg day workout, and then next thing you know, as soon as I walk into work after that, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, this is the busiest day we're gonna have for a while, so have fun." And I can barely walk at that point, so then it's like, "Oh, hey,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
some legs
That's
are
my
already
luck."
dead,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, it is.
but then they just want you to go and do
Yep.
more.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. So, how is your sleep? Because, like, yeah, you work a job where everyone, I mean, it's always been associated with me with farm, because my dad grew up on farms where it's a very early morning. And how do you deal with that sleep wise? Do you tend to go to bed, pretty early, or where do you fall on that?
I go to bed pretty early. I'm usually in bed between like 8:30 and 9. Um, because I'm getting up anywhere between 2:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. depending on what my job is for that day. Uh, yeah, and I mean, I usually I'll take a nap like in the mid afternoon because I'm home, and before I go get the kids from school or whatever it is that I'm doing for the day. Uh, it does make it a little more difficult because if I'm doing a job where I'm walking a lot, that's exhausting. I mean, it's not exhausting, but it's like tiring. So when I come home, all I want to do is sleep. I don't really want to, try and get my workout in. So sometimes I'm like taking a nap and then I'm working out and then, then I'm going to get the kids and then I'm doing this and, it just depends on the day. I try to keep it very routine for myself because routine, I will thrive better when I have routine. Like, oh, I got to work out at this time. I got to do this at this time. You know, that's really helpful.
Well, I mean, I'm getting off work at 9:30, and with the time difference, it's 10:30 your time that I'm getting off, basically. And I'll just give you, I was asleep at 1 o'clock my time, so two a.m. your time. So you might have been getting up, and then I got up at 10 o'clock my time, basically. So it's a little different here. I work second shift, so but I'm more of a night person myself too, so that works. I've had some guests that, yeah, like I getting up that early when it's still dark out. That to me is just, ugh. I mean, more power to you, because that is, technically like what everyone should be doing. I think a little bit more of the time, but still, I look at some of those lifestyles where you got to get up early. But hey, that's discipline, and that's again part of this whole lifestyle. But I wanted to get into, because a big event happened for you. I mean, you did a photo shoot, and I saw that, and that was awesome. How did that come to be, and what was that experience like?
Okay, so the photographer is Dan Ray. He's a big photographer for competitors, and he reached out to me and talked, and he was like, "I think I'm going to be in your area. I would love to shoot with you." And so yeah, we set a date and set a time, and I got to do that, and that was just such an amazing like thing for me. And he was totally cool and like really supportive, and like I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just like, okay, smile, yay, like that's how I felt. Um, and he kept saying, he was like, okay, smile, flex, smile, flex, smile, and then, like it was just really fun, and the outfit changes were fun, and the area we were in Pittsburgh was really great. Like the Station Square, it's just like that old timey type place, industrial, which I like. And yeah, I had some great photos and a great time with him, and I can't wait. I hopefully we get to do that again. So I'm excited for that in the future.
One thing that isn't really talked about too much about those photo shoots, too. See, tongue tied twisted moment. One thing that isn't really talked that much about those photo shoots, though, is how tiring it can get, especially with all the posing that you have to. Like, a lot of people don't understand. Was that a surprise for you at all? Because like this is one of the first things that you ever did, and I've talked to so many guests where they're like, especially a lot of them do them after shows where they're already tired enough as it is, but like people just don't understand how dead tiring some of those photo shoots can make you.
Oh yeah, it is. I was like, this is like a workout because it's constantly flexing, and which is really such a lovely, like, refreshing moment for me. Was people think it's all about lifting weights. Well, you know what? When you tense your muscles up, that becomes a workout because you are having that time under tension. And yeah, it was kind of like this little mini workout that I had going on, in the photo shoot because it was just constantly flexing and flexing and flexing. And yeah, it was a lot. And like I was like, oh, and it was like shoulders back and arch your back and do this and go up on your tippy toes and all this fun stuff. And I was like, man, this is a lot. Like, and yeah, and people, you're right, people don't fully understand what goes into the flexing and the posing and all of those wonderful things.
Yeah, a lot of times people just think like, oh, it must last like 2 seconds where you just, oh, do the pose, take the photo, and then you're done. It's like, no, you were taking so many photos, doing so many different locations. And does that make your decision that because I know that you said you didn't really ever want to compete. Does that make your decision even easier now? No, doing that you dealt with all the posing stuff and you're like, okay, I can't imagine doing all this then for all that time.
Uh, yeah. he was he was really funny. He was really great. He was like, maybe you should you want to compete, and I was like, no, no, it's still not for me. I mean, and I had fun, and it was great to learn some of the poses that they do. Like, I don't know how whatever they
Those
do.
most muscular ones and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, it did not encourage me in any way, shape, or form to want to compete any more than I had already did.
Which is why I appreciate you more as a guest because like so many times people have that pressure. Like if you get to a certain look where it's like, oh my God, you have to compete because like you just look like that. Where it's like, no, you don't have to. I mean, competing is. I mean, some people just don't want to do it. And no matter how big I got when I was in college, I never even wanted to compete either. Where it's just like, no, I just like the way that I look. I like the working out, which is great because I think so many people kind of get shoehorned into like once you get to a certain look, then they get so much pressure on to like, oh, you have to compete. And it's not for everyone, and it definitely wasn't for me. And it's I understand that viewpoint of like, no, I just want to look the way that I look and just enjoy it and not have to get up on stage and pose in front of people because it's just not for some people, which is it's great. I love having a guest like you on who has that look and then doesn't compete, because so many people will look at that and they'll be like, oh, it's kind of like how if you see like someone who's like 7 feet tall, you're like, oh, do you play in the NBA? And then it's like, oh well, yeah, just because I'm 7 feet tall, so it's yeah.
Right. What if I can't shoot? Like
Well, they'll find a spot for you, but
underneath the basket, just
yeah,
not touching the ball.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's competing is I don't think is gonna ever be for me. There's too much I feel like the nutrition aspect, like I can only go so long eating the perfect diet.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I eat fairly healthy. I eat like a lot of the same foods every day. But I don't know if I could be restrictive enough on myself. Like I would just screw it up. Like that's what would happen. I'd be like the day before a competition, I think I would pig out on whatever and then not win. You know what I mean? I would sabotage myself.
I lasted 3.5 weeks in a prep that I did. And I told my friend, I said, I'm not going to compete. This is just to see how long I can last. 3.5 weeks in, I sent him a video of me eating 3 hot dogs, saying, best of luck to you as you continue on in your prep. So, yeah, that nutrition is just so much more impactful than a lot of people really do realize. And it's eating clean, people say that like, oh, it's so nice, and it's not. It's like, no, it's not. When you get to like that third or fourth week of eating just that plain bland chicken or that plain bland rice, it's like, no, you are not enjoying it. I don't care what anyone says. Some people are just that crazy that they might enjoy it and they might still be like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. But hey, that's, I recommend them to a nice therapist, and I say, okay, you need to talk out your issues then. If you're still, like, oh, this is the greatest chicken ever after a while, because I could be having, the best mac and cheese of all time, and if I ate it for 3 weeks straight, after that, I'd probably be like, okay, yeah, I need to get something else because this is not really, working out for me. But I mean, I talked a little bit before about how your job on the farm kind of helped with like just your overall look. But do you think that discipline also helps as well? Because like we talked about before, it's a very disciplined job where you got to get up really early. Do you think that discipline also helps in your fitness lifestyle? Because fitness is one of the most disciplined areas that anyone can really have if they're really really into it.
Yeah, I do think the work ethic has a play into um, making sure that I get my workouts in, like maintaining that discipline, which isn't always easy, you know. Um, but yeah, when like especially on a farm because there's animals, those are like living creatures, right? So you can't just be like, not gonna do that. Like, no, they need
They'll find their own food.
yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
fine. No, I completely agree that that work ethic probably sets me up a little better than most people to maintain that discipline on a day-to-day basis or weekly basis or whatever. Um, I mean, I've had my down days,
Mhm.
like I probably have these or a down week where I'm really tired and I don't like. I'm like, maybe I should just take a rest
Mhm.
day because I just can't. I don't have it right today. You know, um, I would say 9 out of 10 times I talk myself into doing something, whether that be a short hit workout where I'm using a Tabata timer and I'm just, I'm jumping around the house or moving. I'm doing something to help get my heart rate up at least, maybe break a little bit of a sweat. And then I feel like, okay, you did something, you feel better. Like, you know, and that's always a big key to me too is when I feel like I don't want to work out, reminding myself that I will feel better is always helpful because if I don't, I'm like, well, you're just going to feel bad and guilty and not good about not getting your workout in. And it's okay. And don't get me wrong, it's okay if you need to skip or if you need to take that rest day. Like take it because if you're ill, you need to sleep, do it. Like, or if you're just having a really bad day or going through something, like take the rest day. Like you will survive that. But on a day-to-day basis, you do have to, I mean, if you have to talk yourself into it, talk yourself into it, you know? Like it's not always easy, but for the most part you should just, I mean, it should naturally start coming to you after so many weeks of doing it.
For me, I start every workout just doing some sit-ups, and that's the time where I always get into it then afterwards because like I said, I have those days all the time too where it's like I don't want to do this, and then the moment that I start, doing that, I have a music playing, then it starts to get a little bit better. But I mean, those sick workouts and those workouts where you haven't got enough sleep, yeah,
Mhm.
those are absolutely horrible. But one thing that is, I mean, I'm one of those people where I think I'm more in tune with my body than I think the average person, but dealing with the difference between pain and injury, especially when you're in a healthy and fit lifestyle, it can be hard at times to sort of judge like whether or not like how hard to really push yourself. Have you struggled at all with that? Just sort of realizing the difference between pain and injury? Because for me, it was hard at first, but as I've sort of gotten used to it because I've done this for so many years that like I can judge where like I can't train this body part right now just because it's just I don't want to risk injury. But for so many people I talk to, especially competitors, like they have that just because they have a goal at the end of the tunnel that they really want to get to, they sort of push past that and sometimes bad results happen. But have you ever struggled with that, sort of knowing the difference between pain and injury, or has that been something where you're kind of like me, where it's a little bit easier to sort of judge that?
Um, I think I'm where you're at. And for example, I was doing some sort of and it was like a lunge type movement, and I when I was doing it on my left leg, I think I felt a really strong, like, in the back of my hamstring. And now, a few years ago, I had pulled my hamstring, not pulled, I tore it. Like,
Mhm.
it was a bad injury. And ever since then, I notice a weakness there. So I'm very aware when something doesn't feel completely right. So for the next like couple of weeks, I actually just deleted that particular move out because of the strain it was putting on my hamstring. And since it was a single leg type movement, I didn't do it on the right leg. I just completely let it go, because I don't believe in like train like if one arm can use 10 pounds to do a bicep curl, but the other one can't. You don't do 10 here and 5 here. You just do 5 until this one catches up with strength. That's going to keep you even. And I see that sometimes with people where they're like, oh, this shoulder's starting to like go, so I'm not going to push hard with it. And can you see me?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, well, don't do that. If you're not going to use weight on your left shoulder, don't use weight on your right shoulder. Like, just keep it all even so that you develop correctly throughout your body. You know, like that's my opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but
Did you
um,
ever have one body part that like you said, like maybe like one arm was bigger than the other? Because like for me, I had that twice, and I blame sports for both of them. Or for my right, so I was a pitcher, so for my right arm, for my forearm, it was a little bit bigger just because I threw a lot of curveballs, so it was a lot of like doing a lot of wrist action. So I that was something that I had to deal with. And then I was a kicker also on my football team. I played tight end, but I was also the kicker too. So my left leg was just a tiny bit bigger than just from all those times kicking. So did you ever have that where it was just a body part was just a little bit more imbalanced that you had to catch up with?
um, I would say I think I noticed it in my shoulders because I did have a dislocated shoulder. Um, I see it, but I think it's so minuscule that other people are like, no, I don't see that. The other thing is my butt. I feel like one butt cheek's like more lopsided or something. And again, it might just be me being like, oh my goodness, look at that, which is really hard because, I really disagree with people picking themselves apart when they look in the mirror. Like, please don't do that to yourself. Like, you deserve so much better. You deserve positive encouragement, like, especially from you. Like, when you're talking to yourself in the mirror, like, please, please, please make sure you're being very positive towards yourself. But I know what you mean. Like, you can feel, sometimes you can pick up on those slight differences that other people might not notice at all, ever. It's like the pimple on your face that nobody sees, you
I
know?
I mean, I honestly wish the moment that someone gets into like working out and just adapting a healthy and fit lifestyle, they might have. I wish they would have to sign a contract that just says the NPS. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to be. You're never going to think you're like just be prepared for that mental. That mental madness that happens into it. And how do you deal with that? Because like everyone deals with that, no matter if you compete or not. If you're just someone who's just lost like 30 pounds, people still find ways to pick themselves apart. And as hard as people try and as hard as I try, there are still days that you are gonna just pick yourself apart. And how do you deal with that mentally? Because it just adds so much more stress to people. And I just wish that people had a healthy outlet to like not do that, because so many times I've talked to people that have quit either a healthy lifestyle or just because they just can't deal with the mental mind games that happen.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's such a huge, that's a big deal for people. For me, the way I have to deal with it is that if I catch myself starting to like pick myself apart in the mirror, is, man, you really got to catch it. You got to catch it quick, and then you have to turn around and be like, okay, but I love myself, you know. And I talk about body positivity all the time. Try, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Try to love your body, and then you start reminding yourself of how wonderful your body really is. Like, and there are people that can't walk, they're in a wheelchair or whatever, but I have two legs, I can walk, I am breathing, my heart is beating, and you start going through those lists and the gratitude that you can have for your body as it is, as opposed to letting that negative self-talk come in. And I think it's also really important that even when it does come in, that you approach it softly. Like you go, okay, I understand, like this is your self conversation that you might be having in your head. Um, oh, you're not good enough. Well, wait a minute. I understand, I accept that you want to think that about yourself, but I think I am good enough. It's not about pushing it away as much as it is showing it love, showing that negativity like a little bit of love. Like, I understand that you feel that way, like, or you want to think those things about yourself, but that's not truly who you are. What you really are is like a wonderful human being. You know what I mean? Like, you are good and you are, lovely and you do all these wonderful things, and if you are just starting out on your fitness journey, is to be very grateful for all those little things that you did. Like, um, it's kind of like even if you were like dieting, working out, dieting, whatever, doesn't matter. And you fall off the wagon and you eat like 8 hot dogs, right? Well, even though you might feel like shit and you're like, okay, you can accept it, but you can remind yourself, yeah, but breakfast, lunch, those were good items I chose. And so what if I fell off on this moment? Because in the next moment, you can always choose better. You can make those choices, and sometimes they have to be moment to moment, like some days those are the days you're going to have, and that's what you have to do for yourself. And it really does depend on your goals. Like some people may not care. Hey, I ate half a pizza. I'm good. Like, I know people like that too.
Well, I rolled with it the opposite way because, like I said, I had COVID, so I had it from, I had it. So for a week, I lost my appetite. Really, I was living off of. I still have some of these in my room. I still was living off snack pack, basically those pudding things and
Yeah.
potatoes. So I'm 6'3". I normally weigh about 205. I weighed myself when I finally tested negative for the second time. I was at 188
Oh
for
my god,
so
that's a
it,
lot.
and that was a week and a half basically that I looked at it as like, hey, I haven't been in the 80s since I was like late teens, really, basically, like right before I got into college. And then, of course, I weighed myself this morning, even before I talked to you. I'm like back to like 202 and stuff like that. So it's like, obviously, when you get sick, you just lose all that stuff. But then when you start eating again, yeah, it just comes back. But yeah, you just got to roll with it too, because especially, with the unpredictability of getting sick and other things like that, you just got to realize that, hey, we all deal with these problems too. Because a lot of people, I don't know if it's just because of social media and everyone publishes like all the good stuff, really, is that a lot of people just think when something bad happens to them, it's just happening to them. Like no other people go through it, but it's like, no, we all go through with that. I mean, I've talked to some of the most in shape people on the planet, and they all deal with the stuff that, the average Joe goes through when it comes to just the body dysmorphia and the fears and the everything that goes along with it. So I always like to just bring that up on the podcast just to show people like, hey, my guests that I have on who are, in great shape, they still deal with all the stuff that you deal with. It's just, I do give them that they just are a lot more dedicated than you, like, let's be completely honest, but that's about it. So yeah, I mean, there is that. And yeah, it's just fascinating to just have these conversations. But I mean, do you have any goals for this new coming year, whether it's any fitness goals or do you have like you just want to do photo shoots again, or what are your goals when we have you on again a year from now and catch up?
Um, hmm. I do have some goals set for myself. I think I really like creating my own workouts for myself. So I think that might be something I'm going to try and branch into. Like I've written like a workout for a colleague of mine. And she was like, "Oh, that was really fun for me to do." And so I really like that kind of thing. I like trying to push myself and go, okay, does this muscle group work with this muscle group? And like how that works. And so that's a lot of fun instead of me just winging it. Like I actually am like writing down, like I have a notebook and I have like, oh, this workout works. This was fun for me to do. I really enjoyed this. Um, I think the other thing I want to try and branch out for is pushing myself to do the exercises I don't like to do. Like
Such as,
like the Bulgarian split
ooh,
squats. I I know they're super effective. and I despise them. But I have them set into my workout and I do them and they're still not fun. Like I don't know if they're ever going to be fun. And I get it. Like a lot of people say, if you're just starting out, I would say, okay, don't do that.
It's fine.
She's going to knock my phone over.
It's happened
Um
before.
if hi, if you don't like something, you're not going to stick with it. So my recommendation would never to be start something that you don't like when you're just starting out on a fitness journey. Like, don't do that. Stick with something that you until you can get that going for yourself and you build um that ball of motivation and discipline in, then you can start adding in the stuff that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to because I know it's going to work for me, because that's how I feel. And I think the last podcast, and like I said, always love your body, but you were like, oh, is there a body part that you would want to change? And that would be my butt. I was kind of like trying to grow my glutes out a little bit better. And because I want to have that like curvy shape. And yeah, so, you might have to do something that you're not going to want to do. But my goal is becoming greater than my dissatisfaction with a particular move, you know? And I usually think like if there's something that you don't like, that's probably something you should be doing, especially when it comes to like, working out or even nutrition. Like, yeah, I don't like eating salads. Well, maybe you ought to. Like if you're trying to reach a particular goal, And I never want to ever come across that I told somebody to do something because I don't want to be like that's not who I am. I'm very like, well, maybe you like doing push-ups. I think people should do push-ups more often. Like it's such a simple exercise and it can help get you into better shape if you just do 10 of them in the morning right when you get out of bed. Like pump them out, get them done.
I know a handful of people that like actually got into shape just during COVID when everything was locked down, just doing push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups, just basically every day. They do like 100 of each, and then it was just they just kept doing that for months on a time, and yeah, they lost weight, and those are great. Yeah, those are great things to start with. Absolutely, if you're just looking to get started and stuff too, or just maintaining stuff too as well. Those are, the body was those are moves that were just made exactly for the body, and it's fascinating. But I do gotta ask. I think I asked you this last time, but I gotta ask you again because it's just ridiculous. This is going to be edited out there. This is going to be blooped up, but what the fuck do you do for your biceps? Cause that's just ridiculous. Like I see your posts and stuff like that. Like, what do you train for that? Cause that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, currently I'm doing my made up back and bicep workout. And yeah, I don't know.
Is it just genetics?
If I had to be honest, I think a lot of it's genetics, like the size and the shape of them, because I know I have like these most notable peaks in my opinion. And no, I honestly I couldn't tell you. I could tell you lift heavy, do your higher like raised like a bicep curl that's raised. Um you do stuff like that, put a lot of tension on them. Train all of it. And what I mean by that is you want to train for growth, you want to train for strength, you want to train for endurance. All those are different rep counts, different set counts, different failure levels. Go for those things. When you are, I mean, unless you have a trainer, I would really just try and focus because, like, the workout I am doing currently, and train all angles too. That's another thing. But the workout I'm doing now, I did um, like 12 to 15 reps first. And I did that for so many weeks. And then I did strength only. So then I was just lifting really heavy and only doing 4 to 6 reps. And then right now I'm kind of like in this middle of like, well, some of it's endurance, some of it's growth, some of it's 10 to 12 reps, some of it's heavy. Um, that's really important to like, and it's funny because I think people overrate the idea that of muscle confusion or whatever. And I really think you can stick with a very similar workout. But when you start changing the rep counts and the weight counts, that's going to ultimately keep changing that workout for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone, if we're talking about arms specifically, don't forget about the triceps too. I always gotta say that to everyone. A lot of people forget that, where that makes up like 75% of your arm. If you have very nice triceps, you can it makes everything else look so much better. And that's one thing that I inadvertently, just because I love training triceps, even when I was younger, like I inadvertently made that good mistake, at least, where it was like I got really nice triceps, so I can lack a little bit in the body department. It still looks nice. So that's for all the gym bros out there. That's a little advice that I like to try to give out every time as well. But yeah, and well, lastly, I was gonna say with your workouts too, like you do a lot of at home stuff too. Is that something that you prefer to do, or do you go to gyms now too, or where do you fall on that? Because I see a lot of your posts that you make, and a lot of it's at home stuff, and a lot of people, myself included, I prefer at home workouts myself.
Yeah. I actually like working out at home. I just keep trying to acquire more equipment, you know. Um there are some like downsides where you don't have like certain pieces of equipment, but I actually instruct part-time at a gym. That's what, that's where I get to help people with their physiques. And so I have access to that gym equipment there, which is, like TRX straps that I don't have here, which are great because like sometimes if I could do my back and bicep workout at the gym, I get to exchange the TRX rows for like weighted rows. I get to, and like it works a different piece, even though it's like the same movement. I probably have a preference to home workouts, although I do see the benefits in going to a gym. And I feel like a lot of people need to go to a gym because then they're going somewhere, they are doing something. And some people need that motivation, And that's what I tell when I'm teaching a class. I'm like, uh, you guys walked in here. Like, good for you. You should give yourself a pat on the back right off the go. Let's go. We're gonna do this. And hopefully like people realize like, yeah, I drove here, I did it. Like, don't half ass it. Like, you made it. You're here. Like, you're already halfway through the workout. Like, and then we're just gonna get into it. And so I mean I get where that people have to go. Like, I would say my sister-in-law is one of those people that she has to go somewhere because if she's just at home, she's going to start thinking about other things that she needs to get done around the house. So,
That's I mean, I do a lot of at home stuff too, but then also, yeah, I'm thinking about other stuff when I'm not working out. So I try to do half and half, but I lean more towards the home workouts myself. But yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's. I always tell people like the journey, just even to get to the gym, is a lot more impactful for a lot of people than their actual workouts are, just because it's just you can kind of psych yourself up when you're on the road doing that. Now, unluckily for that, I should say, like I have gyms. I have like literally 3 gyms within like 2 blocks of my house, so it's you can't really psych yourself up that much when you're getting in your car and driving for 15 seconds really to go to the gym. But hey, there is that. But yeah, it's awesome. And I mean, again, I cannot thank you enough, Lindie, for coming back on and sharing your story. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
um, just that, I just want everybody to know, like, I was thinking a lot about it, and I have some really great people in my life, and if I had to say anything, I just want to thank them for being in my life. Like, they have been angels to me, every step of the way, whether it be in support of my journey. Um, I'm so lucky that I'm surrounded by a lot of positive people, especially for my physique, like who I am, and I have a lot of support, and I'm just so incredibly grateful for that. And I just, if they listen in on this, I hope they know that, and I hope the people at the members of the gym know that they inspire me. And I do want to tell you that too is my inspiration actually comes from those people that are just starting out on their journey, because that takes courage, that takes commitment, that takes so much when people start that for themselves. And I'm just so proud of them. And that makes me want to work harder for them. Does that make sense? I mean,
Absolutely. And I mean, we are recording this 2 days before the new year, which I know a lot of people do not prefer New Year's time, especially in the gym, because of just how crowded it gets. And a lot of people are just, they're fine with it. How do you deal with all the New Year's resolutioners? Because I know, like a lot of people can be like, oh, it's great they're getting in shape, but then there's also a lot of other people too. It's like, okay, we're getting a little crowded here.
Like at the gym.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think it's gonna affect me.
yeah.
Like, I don't really. If it's crowded, it's crowded. If it's not, it's not. It's
There have
you
been
know.
sometimes I went to a New Year's gym and it's literally taken me like 45 minutes just to get to one piece of equipment, and then I'm like, okay, well, we might need to thin things out a little bit then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in my particular gym where I instruct, it's actually like a kickboxing
Oh,
class.
okay. Yeah,
So like either my class is going to be full or it's not going to be full,
yeah,
and everybody has their own stations with all the same equipment that we use because we don't have like big machines. It's all like dumbbells and like overhead bands or TRX straps in a box. Like, so everybody's going to have the same thing,
yeah.
and I'm not going to go to a gym on New Year's. I'm going to
Oh
work
yeah,
out
that's
at
crazy. Like
home.
I learned the hard way in my early 20s never to do that. So then always, yeah, for like the first 2-3 weeks, I always do at home workouts, and then it slowly starts to thin out a little bit. And then once you get to February, we get almost to like regular gym levels, and then it's like, okay, we can start going back there now. But yeah, so there's that. But again, I mean, Lindie, I cannot thank you enough for coming back on the show and giving us an update. I look forward to having you on again, and yeah, it's just keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep plugging away your Instagram account. Everyone, go and give her a follow too. I'll leave a link down below. It's You're gonna get inspired. Just first of all, it's just you're gonna get embarrassed first of all because she'll just embarrass you just out with everything. But you will get inspired as well. But again, Lindie, I cannot thank you enough. It was a delight to have you on again.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, this was great.
Absolutely.
Thank
A-
you so much.
Absolutely. Well, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.
Right.